Drawing additional cards can be a tremendous help to turn a basic deck into a more efficient or competitive one. The more cards you draw, the better your chances of finding that missing skill or that crucial countercard. Hello, I'm Kaiser, and in this Star Trek CCG First Edition video, we'll have a look at card draw engines available in traditional format, that is, in games using only cards printed by Decipher. The easiest way to generate additional draws are of course straightforward cards like Kiva's Fajo Collector, the Traveler Transcendence, or Handshake, but they often cost you available card play or can be nullified easily. Moreover, you have to draw into them first. However, there are several options that allow you to set up draw engines in the seed phase. Let's look at 13 examples. Number 1. Fajo's Gallery. Fajo's Gallery is a niche card. It allows you to draw one card each time one of your cards from the Fajo collection or your Mona Lisa enters play, or two cards each time you capture an opponent's unique personnel. The first function is balanced by the fact that the number of Fajo collection cards that work together nicely in the same deck is rather limited, but getting the occasional draw when playing cards like Guinan, Miles or the USS Pasteur is certainly nice. Where the gallery really shines though is when you can use it to generate two draws for capturing unique personnel. If you can set up a nice fleet to take out a fully staffed ship without gunned, you can sometimes draw 8 or 10 cards in one fell swoop. Number 2. Visit Cochrane Memorial. This objective, released in First Contact, seeds at Earth, that is, at espionage mission. It allows you to probe if you have a human engineer present. Probing means you reveal the top card of your deck, and if one of its icons matches one in the results section of the objective, you follow the instructions. In this case, if we reveal a card that has the Federation affiliation icon, we get to draw a card. This is a neat way for Federation decks to cycle faster. And, as if that wasn't enough, the First Contact version of Reginald Barclay can even double this effect. However, keep in mind that the referee card It's Only a Game limits probing and doubling for Visit Cochrane Memorial to once per game per personnel, so you need different engineers every turn, but this shouldn't be a problem at all for Federation decks. Also, note that this card received errata in 2013, so the version used in OTF tournaments looks quite different. Number 3. Ancestral Vision. This event seats on any Delta Quadrant planet. As long as you have a personnel with integrity greater than 7 at honor present, you get an extra draw at the end of your turn, no strings attached. An easy way to arrange this is to seed Necrit Supply Depot, for example at Assist Cooperative, and assign support personnel. Simply discard ASP in the orders phase of your first turn to download Dr. Nydam, who conveniently has honor and integrity of 8. Since ASP provides a reporting destination, aboard your matching outpost, it is perfectly legal to report a personnel native to the Alpha Quadrant like Dr. Nydam in the Delta Quadrant with this setup. The original Decipher version of the card even gives you a second card draw if the personnel at AV is Chakotay. In 2012, the card received errata and OTF players will have to be content with only one extra card draw, which is still well worth a seed slot in Delta Quadrant decks. Number 4. Bajoran Resistance Cell. Resistance Cell is a powerful combined reporting and draw engine. In order to trigger the draws, you need to have 2 Bajoran Resistance personnel in play, which is not hard to do. With 12 different options, including the Universal Gant, you will often find one in your opening hand. A second one can be downloaded with Defend Homeworld, as both Kieran Aris and Shakar Edon have security. Once you have this part set up, you can generate 2 draws by downloading a Bajoran Espionage card on one of your missions which allows this, meaning it is limited to a maximum of 6 times per game. Number 5. Process Ore. Process Ore requires a NOR-type facility at a planet location and the ore processing unit site. If you want to find out more about how sites and NORs work, there's a link to a video I did a while ago about just that topic in the description. The easiest way to start processing ore is to use Defend Homeworld to download Overseer Odo, as he has security. He can report to Ops because of his officer classification, but since this personnel is native to the Mirror Quadrant, you have to seed the incident Crossover to be able to report him to your compatible Alpha Quadrant facility. Then simply use a special download of Process Ore and you're good. Process Ore allows you to discard one card from your hand, then place the bottom card of your discard pile under your deck or out of play, and then draw 2. So this is not only useful to increase your hand size, but also to cycle away cards you don't need at the moment and try to draw something more useful instead, and also to recover key cards that were discarded earlier. Number 6. Cargo Bay. Cargo Bay is another site with interesting game text. It allows you to do the so-called cargo runs. Doing a cargo run means bringing a non-weapon equipment from a different facility to the cargo bay. The longer the journey, the more cards you get to draw. One card for each mission between those two facilities. Let's look at a possible setup. We use 4 missions in the Bajoran region, seed Deep Space Nine at Alter Records, and a Bajoran outpost with a space door at Acquire Illicit Explosives, with characterized neutrino missions and relocate settlers in between. On turn 1, we convert our regular card play into a download of a universal ship, grabbing the Zepolite freighter with its handy range of 9, then use Defend Homeworld to download this version of Odo, who then downloads a classic communicator, giving us our first non-weapon equipment. Together with our mission specialists Dr. Farrak and Narek, we can staff the ship, so we announce that we are starting a cargo run, delivering the classic communicator from the outpost to DS9. We fly to DS9, pass 2 missions on our way there, dock at the docking ports, deliver the equipment, thus completing our cargo run, and immediately draw 2 cards for our efforts. Just remember that cargo runs only work one way. If you manage to get Cassidy Yates holding cargo, you can even get an additional 2 card draws for each cargo run you complete. Number 7. Drinking at Quark's bar. We've covered Morn before on this channel. He's super easy to set up. All you need is Deep Space Nine with Quark's bar and Cargo Bay among your 6 sites that seed for free. You can download Morn to your Cargo Bay on turn 1 using that site's game text, then simply walk him over to Quark's bar and have him start drinking. As long as he's unopposed, that is, not distracted from his important drinking by your opponent's personnel, he can just sit there and rewards you with an extra end of turn card draw for allowing him to get shit-faced in peace. You can even use his special download of Gold-Pressed Latinum as a quick way of getting a non-weapon equipment that you can use for the aforementioned cargo runs. Number 8. 34th Rule of Acquisition. War is good for business. Once every turn, the 34th rule allows us to draw 2 cards when a battle is initiated. That's a rather powerful ability, but we need to devote some resources to it. We seed an alternate universe door, Ampok-Nor at a suitable mission, for example market research, and to get out the 34th rule, we seed the first rule of acquisition. This allows us to download Grand Nagus Gint to our hand in the orders phase of our first turn. On turn 2, we can play Gint, then use his download of any rule card to grab the 34th rule and play it on him. Why do we need Ampok-Nor? Well, our opponent is unlikely to do us the favor of attacking us every turn, and with our puny little Ferengi, we certainly don't want to provoke them anyway, so we need to find another way to pick a fight. Since Ampok-Nor seeds uncontrolled, that means even though it's our own card, we can legally attack it. And what's best, it won't fire back. So all we need is a lone leader, here we use ASP to download Prac, and a ship, which we can seed at the trading post anyway, to fire at Ampok-Nor every turn. Number 9. 35th Rule of Acquisition. Peace is good for business. If you don't like all that shooting and fighting, maybe the 35th rule is more to your liking. This one rewards us with an additional end of turn card draw if no battles were initiated since the end of our last turn. Again, we need the first rule in order to download Gint and an AU enable of some sort to play him, but that's really it. All we then have to do is hope that our opponent is just as pacifistic at heart as we are. Number 10. Deus. Deus is an absolute staple in Dominion decks. His special ability allows you to draw a card each time a Jem'Hadar enters play at the location where Deus is. Our popular setup includes assigned support personnel and Dominion war efforts, and of course Defend Homeworld. On turn 1, we get out Deus in the orders phase with Defend Homeworld. Then, whenever we play a Jemmy to Deus's location, we draw 1 card. We can of course report 1 Jemmy with our regular card play, but on top of that, we can also download a universal one with assigned support personnel for a second draw. And thanks to Dominion war efforts, ASP is not discarded, meaning we can do this as long as we have different universal gemmies to download. In total, Decipher printed 9 of them, one of which is a hologram. And if you manage to have a young Jem'Hadar at Deus's location, you can even draw yet another card when you exchange the youngling for a more experienced soldier at the end of the turn. Number 11. Delta Quadrant Spatial Scission. Ah yes, DQSS. This card from the Voyager expansion is simply nuts when played as printed. Here's how it worked. With DQSS out, first of all, you were allowed to have a second copy of unique Delta Quadrant ships and personnel in play. Therefore, it made a lot of sense to run not one but several copies of the DQ affiliation mains who are real skill monsters. In fact, it wasn't uncommon to run 3 or even more copies, because once per game per card title, an extra copy could simply be discarded to fuel the next part of DQSS. You may place a copy of unique DQ personnel or ships you already have in play from hand out of play to get an attribute bonus, play 2 cards from your hand, that's right, 2 additional card plays essentially for free, and you even got to draw 2 cards on top of all that. So while the card draw aspect of DQSS isn't any more efficient than Process Or, you ditch 1 and draw 2, the additional benefits on this incident were simply too good, and Decipher realized that too, changing this ridiculously overpowered card in July of 2003. Now, it's either play 1 personnel or draw 1 card. In OTF, the card is still banned as of March 2022. Number 12. Sherlock Holmes. In his holodeck persona as Sherlock Holmes, Data has been a popular draw engine for a long time. All you need is a facility or ship with a holodeck. This can be easily done by simply seeding a holodeck door on a facility, or by finding a way to seed a ship with that special equipment like the Hasnak ship at the Hasnak Outpost or the Voyager at Caretaker's Array. Then, seed holoprogram 221B Baker Street there. In place of a normal card play, you can then download Sherlock Holmes on turn 1. It's an interesting mechanic in that you're not actually guaranteed to draw cards, rather you get to draw cards at the start of your turn until your hand size matches that of your opponent. This means that sometimes you won't get to draw anything if your opponent plays a lot of cards on their turn or even empties their hand, but at the same time, the more cards you play, the better your chances are for a big payoff. Occasionally, Sherlock allows you to draw 7 or even 10 or more cards. It's no surprise the card is banned in OTF. Number 13. Krell Moset. Krell Moset is a Cardassian hologram native to the Delta Quadrant. His special skill allows you to discard 1 personal present with him and then play 1 Cardassian affiliation personal from hand and draw up to 2 cards. Since the personal you have to sacrifice in order to trigger this ability don't have to be your personal, you can use Krell Moset offensively and butcher an opposing personal each turn, as long as you manage to get Krell Moset present with them. Most likely, you will want to use a mobile holo-emitter for that. But of course, you can also use it on your own personal. Simply send a sacrificial lamb whose skills you don't need anymore to the slaughter, and you can report a Cardassian from hand and draw 2 cards. If you're wondering how you can get Krell Moset into the Alpha Quadrant to work with your other Cardassians, follow the link in the description to a video I made about this a while ago. Of course, not all of these draw engines can easily be used together in a single deck, but to me a huge part of the ongoing appeal of Star Trek CCG First Edition is finding ways to combine certain side strategies effectively, even though at first glance it might seem counterintuitive. If you enjoyed this video at all, please leave a like or subscribe to this channel, or leave feedback and suggestions for future topics in the comments. Thanks for watching, and expand your power in the universe.